So hello everyone, welcome to my channel Adele Best Predict. As you already know that this channel will give you guys the best betting strategy and sometimes betting predictions. So in today's video content in particular, I have for you uh, based on the question that some of our audience have been asking, and this question is something that is frequent concerning this particular basketball strategy of over points. Actually, some of our strategies are always required of updates, and in today's video content I'm going to give you the new update on it, and also I'm going to recommend the best league for you to predict your games on. So initially, and sometimes I always think that probably the USA NBA league is the best league to predict as your basketball over point, and this is a wrong assumption based on the fact that sometimes, or let me say some periods, the NBA leagues, they have a kind of waves of how they play their games, and the total point that they always have. Sometimes in a week, all the teams might be playing a very low point, and sometimes they can be playing a very high point. So this is sport betting that involves human activities, and things like these are not always constant or consistent. Sport betting is not something that is very stable, so it requires bringing new things and new updates. So now let us move on into uh, recommendation of leagues for the best in over point prediction. Okay, now, so the best thing I always advise my audience to do is that if they want to predict the basketball over points, depending on the available games, the first thing they need to look into is the major leagues. When you click, if you are using this particular bet platform, when you click the league option, they are going to show you the top leagues, which is here. They will show you something that we call the top leagues, and if you click on the top leagues for today's games, this is the only top leagues that is available. That is Euro League. The reason why for this is that when you go on these particular leagues, these leagues are leagues that I assume they are leagues that plays with serious and official procedures. There are some leagues that when they play and they play big points in a particular game, and when you come to under games, and you so now in case you don't have enough top leagues, there's also leagues that when you click on them, the bookmakers will offer you a very low point. So let me check. Sometimes I always check on this particular league of Brazil. So when the bookmakers are offering you odd that are very like available markets that are very extreme, like there are some markets that when you see them they are very safe, but this is sports betting, anything can happen in this game. So I'll be making use of this. Okay, first let's us finish recommendation of these particular leagues that you can predict your over points on before moving on to the steps you can take in predicting the new basketball strategy. So now the first thing is, okay, let us look into this. So we have the Brazil MBB. We have sometimes this particular league they always provide a very nice market, but this particular stores here you are seeing is not something that is very good to go with. Only if they provide an extreme market that meets your requirement with a very low order of at least around 1.20 odd or 1.22 odd. So another one is the Israel Super League. As you can see here, you can go on with them too. I love this particular league also. I love them because out of the 100% of their games that I've been playing, that is Republic of Korea League, and the kind of the market that the bookmakers are providing, I've I can say that I've won 95% of it, or let me say 98% of it, because this particular league of Republic of Korea, and sometimes the Australia League, the Austria League, and the German League, these four leagues, they are very consistent when you are predicting them as over points using the analysis of our betting strategy. Okay, now let me quickly make use of this particular league as an example of how you can make use of the new basketball over points perfectly. Now I'm recommending you guys the Republic of Korea League and the Australia League, German League, and sometimes the Austria League. So for the NBA, for the USA NBA, I think that one is sometimes always based on luck, and it work out so well. Sometimes it depends because sometimes we are not always in control of the players that are involved in these games. Anything can be happening to the players, either emotionally, physically, or anyhow. But we are only predicting and based on the statistics that is available. If these key players in each of in the teams that are expected to play in a particular match, if they are performing so well in a particular game, I think that is when our stats analysis and statistics analysis can work in relation to their performance. But anything happens in betting, so I want you guys to take it in your mind that betting is not always 100% sure, but you play it for fun and you make use of the right strategy and decision for uh, for a good and successful betting experience. So now don't let us waste much time in talking. So let us check the statistics of these particular games. And actually, I've dropped something relating to this particular strategy on this particular platform before, but I'm still going to explain something to you guys now because there are some information that are missing in them, and this information is what I want to include. Actually, this thing is not something that I always expose to the public, but I'm going to do it because if a particular base platform is not offering you a particular market again, you can check on others. So now, the first thing you need to look into if you want to predict a basketball over points under the Korean Republic of Korean League, you have to check the form of the team that you want to predict. Okay, now checking the form of these two teams, if you see it very well, the home team is having 60% of form and the away team is having 80%. You have to just make sure that out of the last 5 games for each team, they must at least win 3 over 5 of it. At least 3 over 5 of it. It shows how they are in form, how perfect their form is, and how their ability to have more points. So now after doing that, you have to go on to the last 2 games. Initially, the strategy we used for predicting over 0.5 over basketball points in basketball games is that you calculate all the last 5 games of their previous meeting with other teams and with each other. But in this situation, the thing will be very easy for you by going into the last 2 games alone. I've made a video on this before, but the issue of their form was not included because this particular strategy seems to be a kind of a VIP strategy for me, and it's supposed to be taught in the VIP tutorial group, but I decided to bring it based on the questions and the concern that we are currently facing based on some people's betting experience. People are really complaining that they don't know the league and the right steps to take in predicting basketball. So, and that is what brought to the making of this particular video. So the thing you need to look into is the last 2 games of these two teams. After checking their form, always make sure that the 2 teams that are playing are really in form. And now check the last 2 games. In checking the last 2 games, the only thing that you need is to check which in their last 2 games, which of these 2 games, okay, which of these 2 games has the lowest point. If you check it very well, in the last game they had 91 and 88, and in the other one they had 83 and 90. If you add 91 and 88 together, surely you can see that the figure is more than 83 and 90. So the smallest of these two is what you are going to pick as your for your prediction of over basketball points. Okay, now we have 83 and 90 to be the smallest among these two, so we are picking 83 and 90. Now let us move on to my calculator. So this is what you are picking, as you can see, because we are adding this together, we are able to get 173. But adding this one together, you are getting 179. So the smallest is what you need to pick, which is 173. Now I'm moving on to my calculator. So we have 173 plus, because we still have more points to add together. So now you go on to the head to head new, and you can find that one beside the head to head if you are using a particular this particular bet platform. But if you are not using it, you can go on to some sites that offers live scores and also the statistics of games for predictions. Now go on to the head to head new, and that is where we are going to see the last 5 games of these two teams that they've played with other teams. Now for the home teams, in their last 5 games that they've played with other teams, so you have to check their last 2 games again, so within these last 2 games, if you check it very well, in the last one they had 85 and 79, and in the second one we have 83 and 66. So another thing that you need to do is to pick the one that is very small between these two. So mere looking at it, you can see that 83 and 66 is a lower point compared to that of 85 and 79. So now let's go. We have to add the smallest among these two. We are picking 83 and 66 because this is the smallest between the total points of the last 2 games. So 83 and 66. 83 plus 66. So you move on again to check the last 2 games of the away teams. So checking the last 2 games of the away team, you can see that in the last game they had 92 and 80, and in another match they had 82 and 91. If you look into this particular total points of the last 2 games, you will realize that the 92 and 80 is the smallest, as we are having it as 172, and the other one we are having it as 173. So the 172 is the total point that we are going to be picking as our prediction, as our point for the analysis. So 92 plus 80 plus 92 plus 80. So the total point that we have here is 494. Please, I don't want you guys to miss any particular steps of this particular analysis, and make sure you you apply a very good attention to every details in the video. If you notice very well, I decided to pick one of the last 2 games in their last previous meeting, and that is the smallest point they had in the last 2 games, and that is their last previous meeting with each other. So in the last 5 games of the home team, I decided to pick the last 2 games, and in the last 2 games I picked the smallest point, the smallest total point they had. In the last 5 games of the away team at the same time, I checked on the last 2 games they played with other teams, and I picked the smallest point. So out of these 3 last 5 games, I pick one from each, making it 3 games of total points. Now we have 3 games of total points after calculating all the total points that we have here. Actually, this thing is kind of taking so long because I'm trying to explain. This is a fast strategy for you. It's very easy to use and very fast to make use of. So we have our total point after doing the analysis of adding up the smallest points in the last 5 previous games across the league. Now this is 494, so you have to divide it by 3, and we are able to get 164 points. 66666 blah blah blah. Approximately, we can say that 164.7. Now we have 164.7. Sometimes I can decide that okay, I will not subtract any point from it, and I will predict it as over 164. But this is betting, and some are often predicting straight without subtracting any point. It's kind of very risky, and though it's always come out and it offers you big odds, because if you check very well now, because I want you guys to take note of this. We have 164 as our major point of focus now. This is what I always do. I always subtract 10 from that, and by subtracting 10, I always get 154. But in a situation whereby I'm looking for a very big odds, and trust me guys, these big odds will surely come sometimes when it comes to Korean league and Australian league, because in this particular league they can be playing 190, 180, 170. Now let me show you something. If you look into this very well, we are able to see 156, right? That 164 is actually the right prediction for this particular game, over 164. But for safety purpose, probably maybe okay, you feel like okay, you want your games to be safe, then you can go by subtracting any figures from it, or go for the smallest odd provided by the bookmakers, that is the market, which is the smallest odd. So my recommendation for you guys now is that if you want to predict your basketball total point, go for the Korean league, the Australian league, the German league, sometimes the US NBA league, because they in recent days and sometimes they always lack consistency. Games that they are supposed to play over 230, 240, they might end up playing 199, 192, 195, and that is one thing about betting for you. So I believe this video has a great influence, and I believe it helps very well. But I want to advise you guys that betting is not something that we can assume to be 100%. So if you are staking, make sure you stake responsibly and be careful when you are staking. Only stick with a more amount that you can afford to lose. So thanks for watching. This is Ade Bet Predict. See you guys in the next video. Bye.